Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Let's see. Okay, Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Sulaiman Rahim here. Welcome. This is our live presentation on YouTube. We're going to be talking about the 9 plagues, Armageddon, the prelude. A prelude to a special presentation I'm about to make soon. This will be a prelude to it. Hold on for a second, brothers and sisters. Let me bring in our audio audience. Again, this is the Black Alert segment of Fire Zone. Welcome. Okay, brothers and sisters, like I was saying, one second here. Okay, that has to work. It's a live session. We're going to talk about the 9 plagues, Armageddon. Now, brothers and sisters, I have a special presentation coming up. I've been thinking about it for quite some time. It's about those 9 plagues. 9 plagues they talk about in Exodus. There's 10 plagues altogether. The first one has already happened. And it's how devastating that was. That was the so-called COVID. And they said, oh, wait. No. Let's back up here, brothers and sisters. See, you've been told, I'm not talking about you demons and devils. I'm talking about the true seed of Abraham. You've been told that the scriptures are hindsight. That's how they blinded you. The scriptures are foresight. They're telling you hindsight. So what good is a scripture that's going to give you history? That's why I call it prophecy. So then they try to get around and say, well, 30% is prophecy, 50% is history, and 20% whatever, philosophy. That's bull. They're telling you that because they want to tell you what is future, what is past, so they control your sight, control what you see. You see? No, it's all prophecy. It was written to give you foresight. That's the whole purpose of giving you foresight. But it was sealed because you wasn't able to receive it yet. See? You wasn't able to receive it yet. You wouldn't be able to receive it to the end. And then it would be unsealed and your sight would return. That's what it says that Jesus or Joshua, right, gave sight to the blind because you was blinded because they took your sight away from you by telling you, first of all, for 40 years, they wouldn't allow you to read or write anything. Only thing you got about the scriptures was from the demon preachers, master's children, who was telling you what to say. And what they was telling you was, to obey master, do what master tell you to do. Love master no matter how bad he treats you. The more he beats you, the more you're supposed to love him. And that's what you were being told. Because that was the demons they was told to tell you that. Because they master's children. See? So they literally took your sight away from you. See? And you was programmed 40 years ago. It took 64 years to program you from 1555 when we arrived on the shores of America, kidnapped. Right? It took 64 years. That story of Joseph, because he was in prison, but his descendants was enslaved. 64 years to take and program you, because they couldn't just do it. They had to program you and turn you into a Negro butt. See, it took 64 years to 1619. The first Negro bus came on the assembly line. First Negro bus. See, fully programmed, certified, and stamped. See, what do you mean stamped? Well, what do they do to cattle and horses, right? Don't they brand them? Well, you was livestock, so you was branded. But how do they brand you? See, some people actually took a iron and put a brand on them. right? But most of you, right, you was branded with what you think is a name. So if Master Richardson owned you and your name was Amos, then you was Amos Richardson. See? And then he sold you to Master Jameson, then you became Amos Jameson. So it's not a name. It was a brand, determined ownership. And some of you still wear those brands around now proudly. You don't realize they was just evidence of ownership. See? And the ones you have right now is evidence of the last master that you was that owned you. And you still walk around those names. Anyway, that's just you're going to have to deal with. But 1619, the Abrahamic covenant, if you haven't heard about it, you better read it. Because it applies to you. And we're going to really deal with that in very great detail when I come up with this presentation on 9 Plagues of Armageddon. It's coming soon. Right? Don't miss it. But you was told that the Abrahamic covenant says that you would be brought to a strange foreign land. Nobody's ever been. Tell me any nation has ever been brought to a foreign land, a whole nation. You don't know any other people that ever happened to. You say, oh, that happened to the Israelites or whatever, 4,000. No, it didn't. And they said it didn't happen to them because they told Jesus, that never happened to us. Jesus said, the truth will make you free. He said, no, we ain't never been enslaved to anybody. See? And that was 2,000 years ago when they supposedly said that, and this supposed to happen 4,000 years before that. 2,000 years before that, 4,000 years ago. They said it never happened to them. And even if it did happen to them, even if it did, right, they claim, right, that is where Palestine was their homeland, right? And they say it was taken to a foreign land, to Egypt. So that's like taking you from Newark to Camden, or New York, right, over to, to the border of New York, to the border of Canada, right? How can they enslave you unless they keep you in chains constantly? Because as soon as you wasn't locked down, you could escape, run right across the border. I mean, Egypt and Jerusalem was right next to each other. So how is that a foreign land? They were transferred to a foreign land, and you stayed there 40 years. How could you keep a whole nation in prison for 40 years if they're in New York, northern New York, right on the border of Canada, and all you got to do is go home, and all you got to do is step across the line. Come on, brothers and sisters. Be real. So they have so captive, they couldn't even, all they had to just walk across the line, and they was home. That wasn't a foreign land. See, even if you say that, it wasn't a foreign land. But anyway, and it said they were tormented and persecuted and everything else for 40 years, and then the judgment will come. And so you can't deny this, brothers and sisters, even according to American records. 1619 to 2019, that's 40 years. 40 years. 2020 came in with a plague that killed the firstborn. That's what it says, Exodus, but killed the firstborn and pass over you. And the fact is, it is passing over black people, and they tried to lie about it at first because they kept saying, oh, we were dropping like flies. And then the world, I knew about it before that, before a World Health Organization called WHO. We put out a paper about a month or so ago that they didn't understand why it wasn't affecting black Africa and Haiti and places where black people live. But we just got black flies over here, see? Goes a lot. Now they don't talk about it anymore. Because after WHO put out that paper, they try to come rebound by saying, oh, Omicron broke out in South Africa. See? So in other words, they try to force it. And then they don't talk about that anymore either. Because it's not true. But if it had been passing over false Israel, that would have been world news. Oh man, everybody was getting it, but false Israel's not getting it, man. That shows prophecy. That shows prophecy proof. See, but since it wasn't passing over them, because they hit harder than anybody, they could hit harder than anybody else, right? Since it was passing over us, like Scripture says, everybody's quiet. But the world changed in 2020 because they knew, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. They knew that what it was. They just don't want you to know that's what it was, because they knew, and especially the so-called Jews, they knew exactly what that meant because they claimed Exodus is their history. They knew exactly what that meant, but they knew they want you to know. So, in other words, the world went on, right? Clean up duty, back up, defensive mode. In 2020, all of a sudden things changed. See, because they understood what it meant. They don't want you to understand what it meant. They don't want you to understand what it means. See? Came right on time. So that's the first of the plague. Then there'd be 9 plagues that will follow. Now that plague, I want you to understand this because you're not going to understand until I actually put my main presentation out. I plan on doing it soon. I'm really thinking it through. Because you have the sealed version of the plagues and you have the unsealed version. Now that one is based on the sealed version. See? Because there's 2 plagues that kill the firstborn. The sealed version and the unsealed version. I just gave you the sealed version. The unsealed version is even more dramatic. But 9 plagues are coming. They're coming on the horizon. And I want to tell you about it before they come and tell you exactly, because I can tell you exactly what they are, how they're going to apply it, and they're going to affect you directly, brothers and sisters. Those plagues are going to affect you directly. See? Because they're going to short circuit your programming. Because your program, be a Negro butt, 1619 came out of semi-line. You was told to self-destruct. You was programmed to self-destruct, right? On master's command. You was told not to think, right? Just obey master, period. See? Thinking was out of it. You put thinking was off limits. Verboten. See? You could not think. See? Because if you start thinking, if they caught you thinking, they'll kill you. You shouldn't read and write. So when anyone control your information coming in, they can determine what your decisions or your actions are going to be going out. Because you make decisions, your brain may be perfect calculator, right? Perfect processor. But it only can process the information that comes in. And they limit the information that came into you. They controlled it and limited it. So that means you made decisions. They knew what decisions you were going to make. They knew how you were going to act because they controlled the information. And they're still controlling it right now. They're still controlling it right now. You don't know it. Because you don't ask questions. And you don't ask for proof. Because if you start asking questions, you start asking for proof, you will deprogram yourself overnight. Your eyes will open, then you see. But they tell you not to do that. Don't ask questions. Even if you ask like a child. Right? I know I experienced it because my mother, and she was a hardcore Baptist. My father, he was like, he converted, just before he passed away. My mother, she passed away, but she was very young. But she was a hardcore Baptist. And I remember, going to Sunday school, and I remember they threw me out of Sunday school because I asked questions. I wasn't supposed to ask questions. And you tell your children, ask questions, just accept it, or you're going to hell forever and ever and ever. Anyway, brother, we're going to move on past that. But that's what's happening. But something's going to happen in a few more days, brothers and sisters. Going to short circuit that programming, and you're going to wake up, and it's going to be disastrous for your enemies. First of all, you don't know who your enemies are, because most of you embrace your enemies. So we'll go through that briefly. Hold on, brothers and sisters. I'm going to check on something right quick. Let's see here. Oh, there you go. Okay. Okay, seems in order. Okay. Just said a couple things, brothers and sisters, because I haven't done this before. I'll make sure I'm doing it right. Okay, that looks okay. 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 So I'm going to go through this briefly, brothers and sisters. It's a prelude. But I'm trying to outline your situation for you. Now, you need a landmark. If you travel, you need a landmark so you know where you're at. You need a compass. See? You need a map. See? But you need a reference point. Basically, you need a reference point. And because that's what compass is. So once you got a reference point and like a landmark, then you know where you are and how to proceed to your destination. Because you can't go to your destination if you don't know where you are. See, first you have to find out where you are to proceed to your destination. And none of you know where you are. Because you've been told something totally different and you don't know where you are. So how can you reach your destination? And most don't even know what your destination is. It says, my people are lost for lack of knowledge. You don't know what your destination is. And you don't know where you are. You're totally lost. So you just you spend your time basically masturbating. That's what you're doing. You're playing with yourself. NBA, NFL, you know, got a job, do this, whatever master tell you. And just think about that. Let's briefly go through that for a second. When you was in chain slave, what was that all about? You work 10, 12, 15 hours, whatever, put you out in the fields picking cotton. You had a little shack the master gave you, right? That when you could sleep in. It had no floor or nothing. But it was something you can go in. If you know, I'm not going to go to, because I talked to my relatives. They told me how, my old grandparents, they told me how it was, right? So, I mean, I'm not a child. I'm 73 years old, so they told me how it was. My grandparents and stuff. Not my grandparents, great-grandparents. I met a couple of them on mother's side. So, and they put you in a little shack. They'd lock you up in there so you couldn't escape, right? They got you one pair of shoes. And Oprah got, and I'm not an Oprah fan, but she got a thing called the slave letters. And they describe a lot of this stuff. So they got one pair of shoes a year. And those shoes were out, then you walk barefooted. And don't tell me they never walked barefooted, because I saw my relatives doing it down in North Carolina, Roxborough, North Carolina. My mother's relatives, and we used to go down there for Christmas, stuff like that, right? Walk around barefoot. I stayed there 6 months one time, right? They tried to get me to walk barefoot. That wasn't going to work for me, right? Okay? So pretty much you couldn't have any relationship. Let me clear something, because I hear people say, we was married. No, you didn't have a wife, you didn't have a husband back then. They didn't allow you to marry. That's why you had this jumping over broom stuff. No, you wasn't married. And you couldn't have an relationship unless master prove it. And that's a whole other story, because he had to do breaking in, all that stuff. But anyway, I'm just trying to lay out the background here for you. So he has some kind of transportation to get from there to the fields, right? And they gave you shitlings because they hated you so much, right? I mean, you was just animal, livestock, that the stuff that when they ate the hog, when they cut the hog up and killed them and slaughtered them, all kinds of stuff, the stuff they used to throw away. That's why I call it shitlings. The hog more than shitlings, the guts, the stuff you store away. They said, hell, we ain't gonna throw this away, we're gonna feed to the slaves. That's what they gave you. Hog more than shitlings. And that's shit. They called it by the name back there, shitlings with an S. But see, once you was free, once you thought you was free, they only freed you because they no longer needed you. They changed the name because these niggas are stupid, right? We just changed the name, they're still gonna eat the stuff. And we can sell it to them now. Before we made them eat it. But now we can sell it to them, just change the S to a C. And you eat it. And you see the shit floating. You smell the shit. You can actually see it. You go, man, I ain't gonna eat Aunt Mary's chitlins, man. She don't clean it. You can't clean shit. Anyway, just look at that for instance. So let's bring it up to slavery 2.022, right, to modern day, right? Okay, let's go back there for a second. And say if a master came and told you, say, okay, boy, I'm gonna free you. I'm gonna pay you now. So I'm gonna give you enough money, right, to buy that pair of shoes that was given you every year. I'm gonna give you enough money to pay rent for that shack that was locking you up in every night, right? I'm gonna give you enough money, right, to get transportation to the field. Before I was giving you a mule. You see, you get the picture. I'm gonna give enough money to buy them shitlings, or they're chitlins now. That used to make you eat. See, so did your situation change any kind of way? Did your situation change any kind of way? Your situation changed in any way? Other than the fact is, now you got the same condition exactly, but now only thing is, you got the money to pay for your situation that you was in the day before. Exactly. Nothing has changed. Nothing at all. Nothing. It's just the trick they play on your mind. So now all they just told you free. So now you can buy this stuff. You can't buy anything else. You can't do anything else. Because now you're enslaved. You're not enslaved. Now you got a job. See, now I got my own mule. See, I got my own shack. I can buy my own shitlings. Brothers and sisters, don't you understand any of this? So move to modern times. What's the difference? You got a job. You're paying lease or payments on a car. You're paying rent for a ragged ass apartment. Maybe what do they call it? Whatever they call it. You know, in a project or something, Section 8 or whatever. Right? And you still got enough money to buy them damn shit and you're still eating. Now you tell me what has changed. Tell me what has changed. Except they F your mind up and you still playing the same game. You're still a robot. Doom, 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 doom. Yes, sir, master. No, sir, master. See? And the only thing it is like a dog. When the master's poor, he give him scraps. The master get a little rich, he give him dog food. He's still a dog. He's still a pet. He's still a dog. Master's got a little richer. And he might have got rich off the dog because he got a dog out there pulling stuff for him, working for him. So maybe it's the reason because the dog's out there pulling sleds or whatever. So that made me enough money so he can, right? So now Master live a little better so he can get the dog a little more too. What has changed? You're still here on the plantation. You're still obeying master's laws. You still bust your ass if you don't do what he tell you to do. Your ass up in prison. How many of your brothers and sisters up in prison? How many of your fathers and uncles in prison? What has changed? But now the difference is there has been a change because before you was worried about master, but now you got your head up master's ass. You got to hear all this master's ass. How's the view? How is the view? How does it smell? What has changed? That's it, Negro butts. You don't have your own country, you have anything. And still you have nothing, you're not free. They freed you, no longer needed you. They went from the agricultural age to the industrial age, where they have machines and stuff to do the stuff they had you doing. So they need you no more. Did they give you severance pay? They give you severance pay? Did they give you 40 acres and a mule? Did they give you anything? So when they throw yourselves off the plantation, do you have anything to eat? Do you have money to get anything to eat? Do you have any place to go? How'd you feed your children? See, they don't talk about that part. So let's go into this, and like I said, this is a prelude to my 9 plagues. See, first of all, you need to know where you are. So we're going to use the reference point. See, because you've been told your reference point is, as far as Israel, is a true seed of Abraham. That's what you've been told. Like I said, most of you don't know about the Abrahamic covenant. You need to read it. It's both in the so-called Old Testament and so-called New Testament. It's in both places, right? So they can't say it's abrogated. And it goes something like this. I said, you've been enslaved for 40 years in a foreign land. They take you in a foreign land and enslave you. They persecute you and beat you and everything for 40 years. And then God will come and judge those people that did it to you. And the first judgment I just told you, the COVID, it happened exactly on time, 2020. Is that a coincidence? That past of us is raping to kill them? That's coincidence? It's right there in Scripture. So if that's past, then we say, like one do to me, well, man, history repeats itself like that. Okay. Then it says, right? It says that we return home. See, he told Abraham, where's Abraham? He said, you return. So that means he was on Abraham over there, not over here. See, Farrakhan, he didn't read that part. He don't read that part because he's a demon. Understand what a demon is. A demon is master's children. They used to call them house Negroes. They're master's children. There's black-faced children. That's what a demon is. Half devil, half man. And they have the same mindset as master has. So his files, do a bio on Farrakhan. Just do a bio, take my word, do a bio on, go on Google and do a bio on Farrakhan. It says file's name Percival Clark. He's Caucasian. That should be enough said right there. What they say? Say less? Say less? You feel me? Man. Anyway. So that's talking about us. So the first plague, it was 10 plagues altogether. That was the first one. That was the first one. Then there's 9 that refers to that war in Europe. That's not this thing that's happening right now. That's not it. That's just wars, rumors of war. But Armageddon will be a war that's going to take place in Europe after the war in the Middle East. That's what's going to trigger it. Not this stuff going, this is just everybody getting nervous. That's not it. But it will be soon. By my calculation, it will be very soon. I mean, very soon. I ain't talking about years anymore. I'm talking about months, if not weeks, maybe even days. But the thing is, they're telling you that false Israel over there is it. So they're setting that as a reference point. So therefore, your whole your eschatology, your whole understanding of scripture and everything else is centered around that reference point. And if you go by that reference point, then who are you? Ask yourself, who are you? If that's the reference point, then you are Ham, the seed of Shem, who was cursed black, because Noah was white, right? Adam and Eve was white. So where do black people come from? Because you was cursed black and cursed be a slave forever. If you go by that reference point, that's their reference point they want you to have. That means they justify what they did to you. But what if you this true seed of Abraham, and you're the apple of God's eye that went through the 40 years, and then the plague happened right on time and it's passing over you, just like it said. What if use that as a reference point? Now we're gonna use like I said, this is a prelude, so I'm gonna go over this quickly. Then, like I said, in a few days, I'm gonna come out. Maybe later on today. I don't know. I'm still thinking it through. The actual presentation, I'm gonna take time with it. Make sure I get it. You understand it. Anyway, if you use yourself as a reference point and you the true seed of Abraham, then what's going on? I mean, use that as a reference point. Then what's that make false Israel? That makes them guilty of identity theft. That makes them guilty of identity theft. It says, those who are Jews, who say they're Jews but are not, but synagogue of Satan. It says right there in Revelations, which is also called AL-INJIL in Arabic, it says that means they're false. As they call them the false prophet in Revelation, but they're false. They're guilty of identity theft. And they're being blessed. Because it says, false Israel, it says they're the richest people per capita and any people on the planet. Because they get all these blessings because they stole your identity. Because it says, he who blesses Israel will be blessed, who curses will be cursed. So if we true Israel, we're being cursed, while the fake, right? The fake one is being blessed. So you're getting rich over stealing your identity. It says, all the nations, by your seed, all the nations will be blessed. So we're going to go through it. I'm saying, we use reference point, then we're going to look at the world from our reference point, from that reference point. So that means they're guilty of identity theft. See? And when you are fake, you don't want the real to show up. If you're a fake, you don't want the real to show up because then everybody realizes you're fake. If you're a fake, you don't want the real to show up because when you compare the real to the fake, you actually the fake will everybody see, yeah, that's a fake. When you compare real to the fake, when you put two together, everybody can recognize the fake. It's like stick out like a sore thumb. But if the real is never around, then you can convince people that the fake is the real thing. See? So the fake got two things. He got to make sure the real don't show up. And then he got to make sure if it does show up somehow, it's so corrupt, it's so marred, right? It's so corrupt and everything, right, distorted, that nobody would recognize anyway. Like I said, we use that, what's that, the Mona Lisa or whatever, right? Okay, you're a fake one. So everybody, yeah, man, that's beautiful. Because the real one's hidden. Then the real one shows up. Then you realize you're fake. And boom, you head towards a garbage can. So if you're the fake, then what you want to do is you want to get hold to the real one and mess it up somehow. Pour paint something on it, distort it some kind of way. Somebody look at it, man, you see what I'm saying? So that's what they're doing. That's in Hollywood. They're storing your image. They make you like a fool. Clowns, bitches, hoes, pimps. They make your image look so bad, so we look so bad over the world. Even the Africans don't want to have anything with us. And who they use? They need characters to do that. Who the characters? Those are demons. They got to get the characters to do that because we ain't gonna do it. So you got the characters. That's where the demons come in at. Because they masters children. They look like us and talk and walk us, but they actually devils. And so they go out there and all Hollywood and sports and everything else, right? Make us look like absolute clowns. So now image is so distorted that when we show up, man, it couldn't possibly be the real one. See? So then false Israel still look good. So they got to make sure the real doesn't show up. And if it does show up, right, it's so marred that nobody can believe it anyway. Isn't that what's happening? So I'm saying, once you put us in the center, then everything else starts making sense. So I'm not going into detail all of these. I'm just saying one at a time. But then, how does it end? Now, how come they never talk about this prophecy? They say, when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, but nobody asks the question, who is Jerusalem? Jerusalem is the capital of who? It's the capital of false Israel. See? Who controls this? Who controls Jerusalem? False Israel. It's their capital. So it said when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, the Arabs don't control it. False Israel controls it. So it said Israel, when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, its destruction is near. That means they're going to be destroyed. It's right there. I mean, how can you get away from that? But they gloss over that one. And the whole idea is, if they're true to Abraham, once they return, they cannot be destroyed. That's the prophecy. But they are destroyed. That means that proves they're not the true seed of Abraham. And that's a problem. See, I'm not going on because I could spend a lot of time setting this all up. I did in a previous presentation, but I'm trying to go over it again because I want this clear. So when you understand, when I bring out the 9 plagues, you right on board and understand where I'm coming from. So that's false Israel, right? Okay, let's look at the Arabs. So if we true to Abraham, there's a controversy there because they're making a claim that they're true to Abraham, which they are. False Israel is not, because Jesus told them they weren't. He said, you're lying. You're not true to Abraham, so your father's the devil. But Ishmael, that's the Arabs, they are true to Abraham, but they're not the inheritors. Read the story, because they was the eldest, so they thought they should inherit. But they was the eldest through Abraham's maid. But that's not the one God blessed. He blessed the one through Sarah, Abraham's wife, which was younger. That's Isaac. See, in Sunnism, they switch it around because they try to say they're the inheritors. See, and that's the whole story about Joseph. See, they betrayed us into Egypt, into slavery, because they thought it should be theirs. They wanted to get rid of us. That's what it said, the whole story of Joseph. They wanted to get rid of us, throw us in the well, just get rid of us. And they was hoping that once we're taken into slavery, they'd never see us again. But we survived it. And that's the problem for them. See? Because they're our enemy too. They're our brothers. I mean, they turned white. They wouldn't circumcise themselves. You understand spiritually, when they circumcise me, you got rid of that black tone. Skin tone. That's another story, bro, says we'll talk about another time. But look, see, how do they fit in this picture? How does they fit in this picture? Because, see, false Israel has stolen our identity, but they have possession of our land. See, our language, right? Our holy sites. So they have a very powerful claim. See, we got it. 9/10 of the law, right? Possession is 9/10 of the law, they say. See, so they got a strong claim. See, false Israel, their claim is that, oh, see, we went back, we returned. But see, they don't read the scripture says the return would be by the Spirit of God, not by dictate of King of Persia, which, if you understand it, in Daniel, that's represent America, that's Gog and Magog. They're the ones that took and set false Israel up. That's no straw together, but they set them up to counter our claim that we're true to Abraham that Elijah Muhammad made. See? So they had set them up in 1948, I counted that. So they vested interest, because they're rich, and they got rich off of our identity. So they're getting blessed because they're saying, who you bless Israel will be blessed, who curses Israel will be cursed. So we're being cursed. The true Israel being cursed, the false one is being blessed. They got blessed, like I said, they're richest per capita. See? But since we saw the end was going to be their end. But now you got the Arabs. Right? They're in possession of our land. They're getting rich off our resources. See? And they're in possession of our land. So they got a strong claim too. And last thing they want you to do is come back and get your inheritance. See? False Israel going to make sure you never recognize as Israel. Remember I said they're going to pervert your image and everything else. So soon they're going to try their thing, set you survive what they did to us, their betrayal. Now they're trying to get the idea out of your mind. So they're paying Farrakhan to tell you that you don't That's not your inheritance. Because where's Farrakhan telling you? You ain't going nowhere. That means you ain't going back to take that land. That's why he's telling you that, because he's been paid to do it. He's owned by them. He's owned by the government too. That's another story together. I'm just trying to focus on Sunnis over there. So they come over here trying to teach you Sunnism. They didn't care about Sunnism before Elijah Muhammad. They didn't care about you. They was in Detroit for over 100 years. They never came out, not one email came out and said boo to any of us. Not boo, nothing. Also, as Elijah Muhammad revived that idea that we reminded us that we're true to Abraham. Master Muhammad came in and told him. All of a sudden now they were interested in turning us to Sunnis now. Because Sunnis, you just a Negro with the Quran. See, because in Sunni they teach you Ishmael is inheritor. He's got it, and you lucky to even be allowed to come over there. See, so they got a law over there. You can't get anything over there unless you actually be born there. So they make sure they keep you out. See? So you're enemy too. See, they said Wallace. The guy they want to get you into Sunnism, or get you out of religion altogether, or get you into Sunnism. And Sunnism, like I said, you're just a Negro with a Quran. You ain't nothing. Ishmael's the big guy. Do you understand, bro? Do you see we're going with this? See? And their end is they about to be. First of all, they about to be exposed because the House of Saud is not even Arabs. The Indians, that's another story together. See? It's called the dragon, but that's another story together. I'm not going to get diverted here. See? But their end is they about to lose all of that land that's been taken away from them. It's been taken, they're going to be dispossessed in a few more days. See? Their struggle with the Shia, they're going to lose dramatically. The Shia will be in control. Iran and Syria will be in total control of the Middle East in a few more days. That war will not take place. That's Michael's angels against the dragon and his angels. See? That's how they're going to end up. But they won't be destroyed. They'll just be marginalized because they have to pay for what they did. Be marginalized. Everything they take, and they're only going to have, we give them. We allow them to have. Because we're taking everything back. See, we're taking everything back. They took everything from us. We're taking everything back now. See, we made Negro butts, everything removed from us. Now we in the process, we're about to take everything back. See, it says Suleiman, right? See that line in Daniel, you had to give his mind back. So Suleiman will give your mind back. See, yourself back, and your nation back. That's why Muhammad's going to give you your land back, right, and control the nations. See, then you're going to have to, right? Oh, and control your creation. And you're going to have to give control of your future. It's up to you to take control of your future after all of that. This is the process happening right now, brothers and sisters. And right now, they keep on a low, because they don't want you to have any idea what's going on, because they got to get rid of you. I already told you, false Israel got to get rid of you, because they're all leeches. They're all parasites living off you, all of them. It says, by your seed, all nations will be blessed. They're all living off of you, all of them. And if you shake them off, they all die. So they can't let that happen. See? Okay, so we talked about the Sunnis, Arab Sunnis. They got all your possession, your land, so your holy sites, or your natural resources. They're getting rich off of it. False Israel got your identity, getting rich off of that. They stole your identity. See? And the Arabs, we didn't give them the land, they took it. They got rid of us, forced us back into Lower Africa, and then forced into slavery. Then you got the devils. See? They dragged us over here. They stole our humanity. They took our humanity, right? They took our health. They took our minds, took our land, took everything away from us. They stripped us bare. Like I said, it took 64 years to program us, strip us bare. See? And they're claiming to be, see, why are all these people claiming to be seed of Abraham? You ever ask yourself that? The false Israel claiming to be seed. See, don't you see it? All the thing is, don't you see the whole focus on who is the seed of Abraham? Why is all these people claiming to be the seed of Abraham? False Israel claiming to be the seed of Abraham, which they're not. And they say, well, see, return, see? And Ishmael, the Arabs claim to be seed of Abraham. They send Ishmael, they hold the son. And then you got the demons and the devils over here, right? They claim to be the spiritual seed of Abraham because they accepted Jesus now. They're spiritual seed. So why is all these people? Don't you see the connection there, brothers and sisters? And the whole world is revolving around that idea, around you, who is the true seed of Abraham, and all of them are doing everything they can to make sure you don't have that claim. False Israel took your identity to mar your image, right? Sunnism trying to get you out of that knowledge, trying to get you forget about that. That's why paying fire can off to tell you, no, you ain't going nowhere, because in effect he's telling you you're not true seed of Abraham because you're not going to inherit anything, because God or otherwise God's a liar. Master Prophet Muhammad's a liar. Elijah Muhammad's a liar. You see what I'm saying? So he's abrogated the whole covenant. He claims the covenant has something to do with it, so he's abrogating it. He's abrogating it to make you forget about it. Anyway, either way, right? Because you see people with him, they're not thinking about going back to the. In fact, they're embracing the people that's out here to destroy them. They're embracing them. They're embracing Sunnis. They're in the Sunnism now. They're going there, they're mosques and praying with these people and everything. And they don't realize these people's whole purpose is to make sure you never get your inheritance. They stole your inheritance. False Israel stole your identity. See? And the devil's here stole your humanity. They stole your mind, stole everything from you. They left you with nothing. Now, is that a coincidence? And all this about this who just chooses Abraham. That's all I'm claiming to be that. And then what? Okay, and then when the Industrial Revolution came in, because they're getting rich off your creativity, you don't understand that one, brothers and sisters. One day I'm going to try to explain it to you. They're getting rich off creativity. So that's what brought them to Industrial Revolution. For 5,500 years, these people is horse and buggy people. Horse and buggy and sword people. As soon as they bring you over here, remember the story of Joseph? They didn't know what to do. Their economy was collapsing and everything. What to do? And Joseph had to save it, because they put him in prison. They brought him out of prison to save their ass. And then what was his reward? They enslaved his descendants. Exactly what happened. See? Because they didn't know what to do. They brought us over here. And it was our creativity that spawned the Industrial Revolution. They say, need is the mother of invention. Who needed more help than we did? Because, I mean, if we could come with a machine that picked the cotton, we obviously would come up with that. Because that was backbreaking job. Wasn't a job, right? So you don't understand it, and that's kind of vague for you. Because you think, but yeah, ask yourself, after 5,500 years, how of a sudden they bust into the Industrial Revolution? They didn't even know anything about it until they brought us over here. And the only place only Europeans did it was the ones that was over here with us. So if they so wise and everything, how come Germany didn't do it? How come France didn't do it? How come Russia didn't do it? All they do is copy the technology they got from here. And we're here. And if they're so wise and so special and what they call they said special, the master race and everything else, how come they didn't make Europe a shine light on the hill? They made Europe a shithole. For 1,000 years, Europe was a shithole. They was forced into Europe. Read chapter 20 again. The resurrection was Prophet Muhammad. He resurrected Abraham's Islamic empire. Abraham built the Mecca, built Medina. He built the Kaaba and all that kind of stuff. Abraham, they didn't want to tell you that, but it's the actual fact. See, all he did was just resurrect. He cleaned it up because they were the sins of idolatry. That's why I call it resurrection. And it was them that bottled up the Europeans in Dark Ages. They called it Dark Ages and medieval for 1,000 years. And it made Europe a shithole. It wasn't a shining light on a mountain nowhere. It was a shithole. It was starving, their blight, right? Their tyranny, their disease, you name it. That place was a total shithole. And they was fighting to get out. And the only thing kept them bottled up was the Islamic Empire until Genghis Khan came in and kicked their ass. That's no story together. But that is what kept them bottled up. For 1,000, then they broke out and said they would break out and cover the whole world. Isn't that exactly what the Europeans did when they broke out of the Dark Ages? They would cover the whole world. They didn't even know about it before. And they said it'd be two world empires, Gog and Magog. Who was the two world empires? The only two European world powers ever been. What were they? Who were they? I'll sit back and wait for you to answer. Who were the world two empires? Who is Gog and Magog? Who is the only two world powers? Right? I'm not talking about continental or him a spirit. I'm talking about who was the two only European global empires? Waiting, listening. Come on, tell me. Tell me. Oh, you're right, exactly. Britain and America. Russia, not Gog. Britain and America. See? And said, at the end of that time, they would surround the holy place, or the holy city, however the translation is. That's the Middle East. And said they would bring fire to heaven inside of men. You see? What's that? The guys are dark over there with drones, firing hellfire missiles down the heads of the people. And that's when they come to the end. So now we have the end this too. This is history, brothers and sisters. They don't want you to know. They confuse you with all this bullshit. Stop the bullshit. So you got three right there. That's if you are the true Abraham, right there. You see the world a whole different perspective? See? So they all work together to keep, they have a symbiotic relationship, so to speak, because they're all working together to keep you down. I mean, but they still have conflicts amongst each other, because as soon as they say, man, they work with false Israel to keep that lie going. See, and I can go into, that's what I say, I can go into a lot of detail about that, bro. It's about this war, what kind of stuff, because the man in the street, they want false sociality there, but the rulers they didn't want. That's why when they had that so-called war, big war over there, and they had it was about 100 to 1, but false Israel won, because they didn't want the Arabs didn't want to win. They wanted false Israel there. They counted the idea that belongs to us. That's another story altogether, brothers and sisters, right? But the thing is that Arabs, see, they got a conflict because they know false Israel's their whole agenda is to take over the whole Middle East, because that's what they're claiming that belongs to them, because this promised land is from the Euphrates to the river of Egypt, which is all of what we call know as Arabia. They know that's their goal, that's their agenda, but they don't want them to that. But they want them to stay there. They counter our claim, but they don't want them to take over the whole Middle East. So that they got a conflict, and a conflict there. And America don't want them because they hate them much as Germans did, but they revived them to counter what Elijah Muhammad was saying. They said, oh hell, we had the proof, we had the history and everything. So that's why they set false Israel up to counter that narrative. See, because weeks before they was burning them up. For 1,000 years they was killing these people, persecuting everything else, and eventually they came up with the final solution to burn them all up, and then the next day, after 1,000 years, and they actually burned them up, the next day, their ass became honey and everybody's eating the honey. See? You got to ask yourself why. Because Elijah Muhammad made the claim. They had to counter it. So they set them up to counter, so to nullify our claim. See? So they only serve a purpose. They don't want them either. But they know if they take over, if they get rid of the Arabs and they take over the whole Middle East, then their claim is even more powerful. And they got nuclear weapons and everything else. They don't want that. The Europeans don't want that. America doesn't want that. You see? So they got conflicts amongst themselves. They can't tell you. So we covered the spiritual Abraham, that's America and Britain, and the Europeans. We got the false Israel, right? So we got three religions there: Judaism, Christianity. All of them just got designs on you, and all of them living off of you, because that's how in America, first they got rich off your labor. For 400 years. That's capitalism. That's the economic system of slavery. Slavery was an economic system based on capitalism. But you love capitalism. Capitalism, that's the perfect model of capitalism. No overhead, maximum profit. You don't have to pay nothing, but they get all this work out of you. That's what happened. Now they're taking your creativity and everything. They take everything from you. They got rich off of you. All of them got rich off of you. So by your seed, all nations will be blessed. And then we got two more going. Then we got China, and we got Asia or India. See, those are two religions. Now, how did China get rich? They got rich because the jobs that came out of your creativity, you understand, was sent to them. They didn't give them to you. They want you to have. They didn't train you for them. So now China got rich off of that. How does India get rich? Off the IT jobs that came out of your creativity again, right? And now they get rich off that. And the guys can't sell them. They bring them over here and give them to them. Do you understand, brothers and sisters? Everybody's gotten rich off of you. See? You the goose that laid the golden egg. You the goose that laid the golden egg. And you don't understand it, brothers and sisters. You just don't understand it. So I'm kind of leaving it there, brothers and sisters. Like I said, this is a prelude to 9 plagues of Armageddon. Trying to get yourself so you understand. So if you use us as a center, all stuff makes sense. All stuff makes sense. And you're at the middle of it, all of it. And you have nothing. Everybody's getting rich, just like the elephant, right? All the parasites getting sucked blood, and they get fat, and the elephants becoming anemic. But they living off him. He's powerful, but he's blind. And everybody's sucking his blood. He's getting weaker and weaker and weaker. See, becoming anemic while they getting rich off sucking his blood. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. So hold on, let me close this out. Okay, my brothers and sisters of the audio division, this is Black Alert, segment of the Fire Zone. Black Alert out. And this is the live stream, YouTube. Wartime out.